right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Utawane podcast. We are here for our next episode about the food of our culture, and we'll be talking a lot about our relationship with Nigerian food and how it has connected us to home. And so we have some very special guests here for you today. And I'll just start off with introducing myself. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm Nnemoma Chukwumerije. I am located in New York City, and my parents are Onyenoha Chukwumerije and Nena Chukumerije. And I'm going to pass it over to Ralu to introduce himself.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I mean, this is morning here for me. My name is Ralueke Chukumerije. My dad is Kandibe Emmanuel Chukumerije, and my mom is Comfort Nena Chukumerije. I'm currently living in Edmonton in Western Canada, precisely in Alberta. So that's where I am.
Adanna, you want to go next?
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Adanna Chukwumerije-Agu. My dad is Charles Chukumerije, and my mom is Adure Chukumerije. I currently live in Manchester.
Azunna.
Hi, my name is Azunna Madioh ni Chukumerije. My dad is the late Azikiwe Daniel. Some people call him Danny Chukumerije. And my mom is Rose Chukumerije. Some people call her Madame. Some people call her Machi. Yeah, I live in Louisiana.
Homer,
Louisiana.
Awesome. So we're coming to this podcast from many different parts of the world here today, and we're excited to bring you this conversation about the food of our culture. I know that Ralu in particular, when we were kind of sourcing, who wants to join the podcast, Ralu was like, sign me up for this one. So maybe we start with that. Ralu, what made you so interested in joining this conversation in particular?
Thank you for having me here again. So I'm somebody who likes I like the food we eat in our culture, especially in Lesotho, right? It gives me the sense of responsibility, and it brings me very close to my people. Especially when I'm eating it, it paints a scenario for me that I'm kind of closer home, right? And it's something I like to talk about all the time. And even when people visit me here, they come to my house, they kind of get wild at how I eat my food, right? Because you hardly see me eat most of these junks. I want to call it junks, right? It might not be junks to you guys. So yes, so that's one of the things that springs to mind, that I like to eat those foods, and something like oswakede, something like iwu, something like I used to have a boro in my house. They call it fufu. You guys call it. I don't know if you know what they call a boro. I have it in my house here. I have ohara in my house because each time I visit Nigeria, I try to bring those things back home. Yeah. So unless you get outside, if you're in my house, you will think you're in Nigeria, right?
I think it's a great way to start us off about, you're already touching on the connection to home that you feel. So for people who don't know, let us know how long you've been living away from Nigeria.
So it's been on and off stuff, right? So when I was talking with Adanna, I told Adanna that Salford used to be home for me, Manchester, right? 13, 14 years ago. After which my job kind of took me around the world, what I was doing. And went back home at some point, like 5, 6 years ago. I moved to Canada, right? Yeah. So I wouldn't have been consistent in a place. It's been off and on, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So no wonder having that food as that anchor needs to be there as you're going to all these different places here.
Right. Yes.
I'm curious to hear from Adanna. I know Ralu had mentioned a couple of those Igbo foods that he loves, but Adanna, for you, what do you think is the Nigerian dish that you find most symbolic of the culture and that you really connect with the most?
For me, there are so many for me. Mostly our soups. There's ofe nsala, ofe onugbu, ofe oha. So I can't really say that there's one particular dish for sure, But there's something that is so common in all these dishes, and for me, it is stockfish. I can't cook soup without stockfish. So, and stockfish is also very, it's also very symbolic to me because it's symbolic to Igbo people as a whole. It was a means of it, it was kind of a lifeline for us during the war. We didn't have a lot of sources of protein then, but we had stockfish. And as as innovative as we are, we have turned it into something because when you see stockfish, most people will not think that there's so much that you can do, but people have managed to, turn it into like a huge element of most of our dishes. And you see, you can't cook most dishes without it. It doesn't taste the same uh, without stockfish. So for me, stockfish is that staple that just reminds me, yes, I am Igbo. Like I just love it.
I love that connection that you brought into even the history of why stockfish is so important in our dishes. And it's true, they don't taste the same. The dishes do not taste the same without it. It's very true.
Mhm.
Until
Sorry, I also forgot to add crayfish too because that is something that most people use to yab Igbo people crayfish. They say like each time I tell people that I cook jollof rice with crayfish, they always look at me like, "Are you okay?" And I ask them, "Don't you know I am Igbo? I have to put crayfish in everything." So
put it inside eggs too. Crayfish everywhere.
everywhere. So stockfish and crayfish, yes.
Gotta have it. You gotta have it. Auntie Azunna, what about yourself? What's that Igbo dish that really makes you feel connected and feels like it's symbolic of the culture?
Like she said, it's quite a few things, not just one dish, But Ralueke had mentioned earlier, if you're from Gudo, then you're talking about you, when you eat you feel like, okay, whether it's Iwayo or Iwongo, you feel like you're in touch with home, And when you get to eat Opa, you feel like you're in touch with home. The other day, we visited Antigua in California. And when she made awarawa, I was like, what? I don't know if you know what awarawa is. They made it from cassava. The same thing they used to make the abacha, yeah. I hadn't had it in a long time. So it was such a big treat to see it. And, I probably gained 10 pounds just eating awarawa. I had it like morning, afternoon, night, So it's quite a few other things. My mom is from Umuahia and we make oba a lot. So I don't know if you're familiar with oba also, that's like a delicacy to us. So there are quite a few of these things that really make us think of home.
Yeah, that's really special, especially hearing the Iwu and the Uba, and the Opa for sure. Oh, I think we just lost Ralu for a second, but hopefully he'll be back on. The Opa for sure. When you said that, it reminded me of going home to the village and daddy going and buying Opa on the street and coming back, and we're just all there eating it together. And I don't, of course, get it over here, but hearing it immediately, I had that memory in my head. So special.
Yeah.
I would love to hear some more from you all about, is there any type of memory or tradition involving Nigerian food from your childhood that you can remember, that you can think of?
Like Auntie Azunna mentioned, Iwu is a huge part of if you're from Isochiwu is a huge part of your childhood. And that also influenced me into loving abacha. Like not just our own version. I love abacha as well, which my husband hates. But but like it just because I have only good memories of research. It's just a way for me to just stay connected to where I'm from. Um, and something else that is rooted in my memory as well is I don't know if you know um I'm trying to remember the name. This thing that smells that they used to make on her soup.
Ogiri.
Ogiri.
Ure.
Ogiri.
Well, it's Anambra people that call it ogiri. We call it ure.
Ure. Yes, I love ure. It the first time I ate proper on her soup, I can't remember if it was in your house, Ralo. And I'm also confused. Like this one, it is tasting different too. And I think I asked your mom, and she said she put that in the soup, and like it was since then I don't make oha soup without uh ure. It has to be there. So yeah, it's many things, but like these ones in a particular.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm wondering, Ralu, how about you? If there's any particular memories or tradition involving Nigerian food from your childhood that stand out for you?
Oh yeah, back in the day during the Christmas period, when we sit at Patiko in those days, where we get one or two of our sisters to make like a iwu for us. It's something I look forward to all the time I go home, or during the Christmas when everybody's around. You could see that togetherness in all of us, right? Because these are one of the things that brings us all together. It's not like the usual staple food we eat in our various homes, like eating rice, eating yam, eating all manner of food. But that iwu is kind of symbolic, right? I mean, nobody comes to Patiko to come and start eating rice. I don't say it doesn't happen once in a while, right? But even if you've done something wrong and you need to reconcile with Omuna, the first thing you have to do is to follow and every other thing can actually come as an addition to it. But Iwu is very symbolic because it brings us together. And that's one of it here. And also during the New Yam Festival, it's something I also look forward to, right? I mean, you roast yam, but that also actually you can't get it in any other place. I've been to so many cultures. I mean within the Igbo enclave, right? I've not seen that kind of unique stuff being given to anybody. You can only find it in Isochi. I'm yet to see it in another place they serve it. So these are the stuffs that creates that reality when I'm in touch with my people.
I think this is why these conversations are so important, because if I'm thinking about eating iwu, I'll think about maybe going to Thanksgiving here in the US and going to Auntie Ngozi's house and they're serving iwu. But I don't think I really knew that it was only served during these special moments, right? Or that it's in particular for the purpose of connection. I think I would see it at these gatherings, but I didn't really I didn't connect those dots. So I think it's very important to have these conversations for people who may not know that these traditions are important to preserve, that we're not just eating food to eat food, but it actually has deeper meanings to our lives and to our ancestors and to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Auntie Azunna, what about you? Any particular memories or traditions with some of these foods?
Yes, it looks like we keep talking about you, but you think about the holidays and think about Christmas in particular, that's where we all gather the most. The thing about it is, it wasn't just that one meal. Like when I was growing up, on a Christmas day, we used to go from house to house. you go and greet this uncle and go and greet this auntie, they will say, here about Christmas is to bring out that you eat iwu from one house to another. I don't know how come we're never full, And they all tasted different, like they all had a little hint, Someone will add the akwụkwọ aṅara, that is aṅara leaves, to theirs. It will give it its own flavor. With the azu, the dry fish, and then with aṅara, with oji, So you might go to one person's house, they will have oji with it. Another person will have azu. Everybody has azu anyway. And, those little differences, then how much ungo, some will be like dry, I put it that way, some people, the ungo will be a lot, So, but what interests me now is how we went from house to house. We ate all that you in all one day in one stomach and we're never full, We just enjoyed the fellowship, It's not like you ate the whole thing, but even if just a bite, we enjoyed that fellowship. Is like, it always brought people together, not just you, if it's good meat, pepper soup, like she mentioned, if you so for how food with rain, these things always brought families together, It's not typical to go visit someone and you're offered food and you say, oh no, don't worry, I'm full. No, it's part of the fellowship. You eat that food, you enjoy it, It's only when I came to America that somebody will come to your house, you offer the person food, and they will say, oh no, I just ate lunch. Like, how do you eat lunch when you go to somebody's house, Because they're going to serve you food. That's what's a part of the fellowship. So you can't imagine my coming to your house and then you offer me, doesn't matter what it is, I'm not going to turn it down, That is part of the fellowship, So when I came here and I found out that, oh, it's not a thing, like you don't offer people food when they come to your house. People eat before they come to your house, that's kind of different from when I was growing up.
Yeah, I find that piece very interesting because as someone who grew up in the US and going to the village and we're going from house to house and everybody wants us to eat something. And at some point, I don't even have space inside my stomach again to take any more food. But I quickly learned it's actually rude to not accept the food that someone is giving, that they're cooking it from the heart. That even if it's just, oh yeah, take malt, take it with you to go. It's an acceptance of love in the space to receive that from the people. And I especially appreciate that about being home.
Yeah.
What are some ways that with the Nigerian food and everything, how do you all source ingredients to be able to cook it where you are? Because I know we're in the UK, we're in the US, we're in Canada, but where do you find those key ingredients like the ogiri and these different things that we're talking about? How do you get that?
For me, like Ralu said, whenever I go to Nigeria, like I just came back from Nigeria a few weeks ago, so I brought back some stuff. Also there's there's a Nigerian store not far from me, so like fresh things that I need, like ogo, butter leaf, all those things I buy from there. But like dry things like crayfish, stockfish, dry fish, I buy whenever I go to Nigeria, or when my mom is coming, she brings for me. So I've been here 2 years, and it hasn't been a problem for me because it's either people are coming back from Nigeria or I'm going. So like there's always a way to like bring stuff from Nigeria. Then if I need fresh stuff, they're like Nigerian shops around where I can buy. So it's not a problem.
Okay, where I am currently, you don't have much of those things around. The closest you could see is from the Canadian shops, right? Stores. But something that comes to mind is you might not find the exact stuff you're looking for. Let's say in the case of ure, right? Because every culture, they have their own distinct way of doing theirs. In Lesotho, we used to say urenderare. So that one you can't get in any other place. So I usually have it in big quantities whenever I visit home. I try to make do with the ones I've got till I have the opportunity of going back home again, right? Some other things you can get it, here and there. It might be a little bit pricey, but it's available, right? And for me, it's okay.
It's worth it to get those dishes that you need, right?
Yeah, and sorry to cut in. They are, like he said, there are also substitutes. Like today, I'm making afang soup. I have the afang leaf, but the water leaf here, it's not rich like the ones that we get in Nigeria. So I use spinach, and it tastes just the same. So for certain things, there are substitutes. Sometimes you don't get the exact taste, but as long as it's close, then it's fine.
And I'm even more curious with these dishes, because I'm hearing Adanna, you're saying that you're making food today, and I'm sure Auntie and Ralu that you have food at home currently. My fridge is empty right now, unfortunately. I would love for someone to come and make soup.
I'm not saying I'll come down to your house and have a lunch one of these days.
Please.
But now you're telling me your fridge is empty. I'm kind of skeptical, right?
I may have to order from a local Nigerian restaurant if you're
No.
coming.
I don't want the one that is being ordered from somewhere. I want the one in fact, I have to be in the kitchen with you, right? When you're doing it.
If someone wants to come and teach me, I'm very open to being taught, because I won't say my mom didn't try. She really tried. She tried very hard to teach us. I'm sure Nkem can remember, us being woken up at 6 a.m. to come and be making Chukumerije-Agu in the kitchen and all of the soups and the stews. But once you move away from home, I mean, this is coming from the person growing up abroad perspective, right? Moving away from home, going to college. I think I made jollof once and egusi once in my whole entire time while I was there. But in reality, I didn't, up till now, I cannot say that I can make soup from scratch and I can do stew, guys. I'm okay. I can do stew. But the rest of the stuff, I need practice. But I wonder, for y'all that have kids, y'all that want kids, do your kids know how to cook Nigerian food now? Are they in the process of learning? What are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, growing up, with my kids when they were a little younger, I used to involve them in cooking. Like they could cut the okra, and in particular, they love cutting okra. Ace, go away. I'm sorry. They loved cutting okra, so they used to be involved in doing things like that. But then they have their differences, they have their preferences. So I think people tend to cook what they love and what they enjoy, So you have one person leaning towards this way, and then the other person leaning towards that way. And like you said, by the time they leave home and go to college, they interact less with, the Nigerian foods, they're eating the food that are available. They're eating out with their friends, So I think their attention shifts a little bit, and they get to eat more of, other foods than Nigerian foods. But when they come home, I still send them away, like my youngest Wesley, he's in a boarding house. When he comes home, he's like, Mom, I want jollof rice, I want this, So I make all those for him to bring back to school, And last time I was encouraging him to come and participate so he can actually learn to cook it, since he really enjoys that. So we just try to encourage them to do it, But like you, even me, like I go to YouTube to find things sometimes, you know. Some of those things you can pick up on YouTube if you have an interest. I have a nephew, my sister-in-law's son. He loves Nigerian soups. He cooks everything, or everything. He just goes to YouTube and cooks all of them. He loves swallow, you know. He is very good. Like he has mastered it, you know, like, you know, practice is everything. He is very good at cooking all the soups just because he has interest. So if you have an interest, you can thank God for YouTube. I mean, they do some things that I don't understand on YouTube, you know, like some of the things they use, but you still have the standard classic way of doing things, which you can, you know, easily pick up if you're interested.
That's very true. I'm thankful for the invention of technology, for that resource to be there all the time. And I'm glad I'm not the only one that will have to rely on YouTube to make some of these dishes.
Yeah, so for me, my kids are still, I don't want to say too little because my son is just 9 years. He will be 10 in a couple of months. My daughter is 7. But you could see the interest in her that she wants to help all the time. But because, you know, you're trying to avoid, you know, having some incidences when all these things are happening, like, you know, cutting herself with a knife and all those stuff. So you don't want to try that. But I see the interest. I hope it progresses in that line. Hopefully when she gets a little bit older, she could be able to do these things herself. But I could see it in her. She's growing up, right? Yep.
And what about your kids eating the food? Do they have any issue eating the food, or do they love eating Nigerian food and have their special requests?
So for me, it's a must for me that you have to do it now. I mean, I'm not being hard on them, right? But I try to let them see the reasons they have to do it. I mean, if you allow my daughter, she wants to go to McDonald's all the time. She wants to go to KFC all the time. She wants to go to all the eateries. She practically knows all the eateries everywhere because most weekends I take them there. But you know, it's like because I mean, I rarely go to all those places to eat. Since I came to Canada, I've not had burger, right? Because I know it's fattening. I know it's those are not healthy food, right? I try to indulge them, right? And I don't want to deprive them of those experiences, but it's a must that if I have to give you that treat, when you come back home, you have to eat the normal food I eat. So that's what I use in luring them into doing that.
It's important. They may not appreciate it now, but eventually they'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think so. And then how about you?
Yeah, my kids, okay. No, my kids, growing up as kids, they really enjoyed it. In fact, my sons will ask if they can bring Gary and soup to school for lunch. But the only reason I didn't was I worried about them having to wash their hands properly, you know, after that. But my daughter, Bube, when she was in high school, middle school, high school, she loves okra soup so much. She would put it in her thermos and she brought it to school every day. Not every day. She loved okra soup and mai. So she put them in her thermos and, you know, she didn't eat in the cafeteria. They could eat outside. So she and her friends gathered and she ate her okra soup and everybody, all her friends knew she brought okra soup, you know. She ate her okra soup. She didn't want it with the Gary, but she just loves the soup, loved the soup. So she also bring, Mama was her other favorite, you know. So she'll bring them to school and she was okay with it. I was okay with it too because I didn't have to worry about her washing her hands properly, you know. Because I don't know how your schools were. Like when you're elementary school, I used to see them wash hands like I was in a line, you know, you just wash 1 minute and they keep going. So the next person will keep, you know, come wash their hands too. But you know, when you use your hand to eat, to swallow, you need soup to wash your hands. It's not just 1 minute wash hand, you know, for next person. So because she didn't have to use her hands, she used utensils. I was okay. I let her go, you know, bring her soups for lunch. And she did it most, she never went to the cafeteria. I don't remember her going to the cafeteria in high school.
Yeah, and then, sorry, Nnemoma, can I say something, please, before you progress? So lately, my son was asking for that. Like my wife is an Anambra, right? So she likes to make this ofe akwu of a stuff. And that ofe akwu, you also put ure in it when you're making it, right? So my son likes to eat it. He wants to take it to school. But my fear is because of the smell, right? Because in this part of Canada, it's pretty cold. That most times you could get like -50, -20, right? So if it's too cold, will he be allowed to go outside and have it outside? But when he insists on taking it to school, I mean, I'm left with no other option than to let him go with it. But I worry about the smell because it's not something that can actually, diffuse out immediately. It takes time to get out of the system, right? Yeah.
It's it's true. This thing that you said now, there was a time I made local rice with iru, and I made the mistake of taking it to work because if you know iru smells. It's locust beans. It smells, and like most people that are not from your culture, they can't bear the smell. And at work, everybody uses, there are like a bunch of microwaves in the microwave room. They're like 4 or 5. And like that day, unfortunately for me, there was a queue to use the microwave that day. So the person after me, like the way that he jerked back, I was like, after that day, I haven't used, like, any food I know will smell. I don't use it to go to work. So I completely understand.
And they may be polite, but they're definitely, what's that?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
There was even the day I even cooked it here in my apartment because the smell is strong. It was like, I think my neighbors could smell it. Somebody left a sign downstairs and was like, please, whoever is cooking this thing, put on your vent. And I use vent, but the smell is strong. I can't do anything about it. And I love Iru. I have to use it most times. So everybody will adjust.
That's how I feel. That's their own business. I mean, everybody else, if the Indians are bringing their curry and
Exactly.
bringing this, please, let's be bringing our native food as well. Once I learn to cook it, I'll also bring it too. I'll be joining you and bringing it as well. Oh man.
So let me tell you, to contain the smell, just put in a thermos.
Okay.
That way, you put in a thermos, that way you don't have to microwave it and it's eating a hot meal.
Thank you for that.
Good tip. Ralu, that may be what you need to do with your son then. If he really wants to bring this to school.
But in school, I mean, at their level, you can't go to the microwave, right? I mean, it's not something that is open to all of them here in school. I mean, if it's in a workplace, you can do that. I mean, I take food most of the times to work. I really don't have the time, or when COVID happened, people no longer go to the cafeteria to eat, right? So you kind of stay in your office to do that, and people come into my office to ask for one document or the other, or a lot happens there. So I don't want to keep eating those stuffs there, and people can't breathe, right? I mean, they can't do anything, unfortunately, but somebody will just pass some nasty comment. It might not go down well with me. So I try to be careful. Yeah, that's all.
It's kind of a tough balance because you want to show up as your authentic self and bring your food, eat what you like. You don't necessarily want to go with everybody else to be buying the burgers and fries during the lunch break, right? You have what makes you feel comfortable. And for us, it's not just about nourishment and food, but it's connection to self as we're eating this food. Is that reminder that as I'm taking these bites, I'm not alone where I am. I'm still connected to everybody else and where I come from. So we should be allowed to. I mean, why not? Who made these rules? Let's eat the food we like and take up all the space that we need in our full Igbo glory, right?
Exactly.
Why not? Why not? Any other closing thoughts or final thoughts on this topic as we come to a close here with today's podcast episode?
For me, I would say lately I've noticed during my time, it was by my time, I mean when I was like a teenager, younger, it was as if our culture was dying because a lot of us were shamed for being Igbo, right? Now I've noticed with the Gen Z, with the younger ones, especially with the Igbo Gen Z, they are embracing the culture more. They want to learn how to speak. Even the ones abroad, they want to learn how to speak. So I would say food is another way that we can teach them about culture, because if the recipes that we learn from our mothers, grandmothers, aunties are passed on from generation to generation, it's a way to keep the culture alive. So, in as much as most of us are abroad, we need to strive to like pass on our taste buds to our kids, because if we don't, that's how the culture dies. Yeah, so that's what I have to say.
I 1000% agree.
Okay. Just in addition to what Adanna just said, I fully subscribe to what she said. This issue of westernizing our kids. I'm not saying it's bad, right? I kind of define in some aspects, because this is what makes us who we are. I get what I'm saying. This is the food we eat, the clothes we wear, and other stuff. These are what makes us who we are. That I can see Nnemoma and say, okay, she looks like a Nigerian. I can go further to define, okay, she could be Igbo, because instead of looking at your accent and everything, I could say she could be Igbo. I could go further and say one or two things, right? So passing down those traditional recipes to our kids is very key. Because funny enough, even back home, I don't want to mention somebody's name. I've been to one of my cousin's house back then. They should be of the same age category with Auntie Azunna. And I spoke Igbo to the daughter, and the person said to me, "Don't speak that language here." I felt so embarrassed. You see the same person eating apple, eating iboro, that's cassava, right? Processed cassava. But he doesn't want his kids to do that, to indulge in all those stuff. So how are they going to have those experiences? How are they going to talk about it? I mean, you're kind of alienating them from their roots, which I don't think is good. So there has to be a generational stuff, those things progressing from one generation to the next one. That's how we inherited it. So it doesn't have to die in our hands. We'll have to keep pushing it further. Like I said to Nnemoma, I will come over to your house. I'll stop by and have a lunch. Hopefully it happens very soon, sooner than she expects, right? So I expect that when I come, no, it doesn't have to be so perfect, right? But they say a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step, right? Do it if it's not good. If I have to make a contribution, excuse me, if I have to make a correction, I'll say, okay, next time do it this way. That's why nobody has got a repository of knowledge. But it's something you keep gaining as you progress in life and everything, right? Good. So let's transfer it. Let's keep telling our kids this is who we are. This is what makes us who we are. And Azunna can be coming to my house now, and I'll go and get fries for her or get burger for her. I mean, if I do it for her, she will gladly accept it, right? But if somebody's coming to my house, the person will know that this is my sister. I could offer the next person burger and fries, but the moment she steps in, I know if she steps in, I should be able to show that, there should be a clear distinction between the next person and the person that is very close to me. either by blood or by whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's my take on it.
Auntie Azunna, any final thoughts?
This has been a very good conversation, talking about our foods and the culture. And there are things that even like when I was growing up, I don't even know if they still exist. Like when I was growing up, there used to be Erebala
Oh,
and Ngweji,
What was that?
you know.
but since they're kind of you know the way you talk about apple, right? And Azunna knows what she's talking about. So the older people will know.
Apple,
Yeah.
you know. I don't know the English name for them. I don't know, but
But
they were
they're better
available when
pronounced
we
in
were
Igbo
growing
than in
up.
English.
Eh?
They are better pronounced in Igbo than in English.
Exactly.
I don't even want to know the English name.
So there used to be all those things there, Mala. There used to be Ngweji, and so I don't know if they're still there. I don't know if our children will ever get to know about them. So so the ones that we have today, we'll continue to share with them, And for the younger parents, the earlier you introduce them to the kids, the more likely they will, acquire the taste. I find that if we wait later, like the Yorubas are very good at it. Yorubas, once they had their babies, they're putting the pepper in their mouth, they keep exposing those things. You can hardly see Yorubas that don't eat pepper, spicy food because they expose them early in life, So all these things, let's expose them to our kids very early. When they start eating their solids, that's a good time. Don't wait until they're 5 or 6, because then they will start developing their buds, their taste buds for only the things they're familiar with. But we have a very rich culture. We have very good food. We have healthy foods, very healthy foods. So there are not things to shy away from. There are things where, and I'm very excited at what how the social media is promoting them. You see people exploring, Nigerian food. There was a time they went wild with egusi soup and fufu. I don't know if you saw them on social media. Like they showed one restaurant in California. The line was so long. Everybody was trying to get egusi and fufu, and they were all talking about it. I was like, wow, I didn't know the day would come where everybody, different cultures, want to explore Nigerian food. So that's a good thing, and we hope to see more of that.
Thank you so much for all of your reflections. I think you all have even reinvigorated my desire to go back and learn again and use that 1-year-old egusi that's been sitting in my freezer that I got from my mom's place to actually put it into practice, because it's true that this is a way to remain connected to our culture. In addition to the language, like we've mentioned, and some of the other traditions, food is very important as that cultural representation. So I highly appreciate you all for being on this call and getting to connect with each of you and see your faces again. And for everybody listening, we hope that this call has inspired you and that you stay tuned for more episodes. Thank you for joining. Take care.
Thank you.